Hello everyone, it's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Morayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Nima Akasha Zibiri, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm well rested. So I tested positive to typhoid and malaria.
They tested positive these days. The only thing COVID.
God will forgive all of us. I was having so much pain and I thought self-medicating, let me know why. And fortunately, I tested. In fact, the first dose I took, I started feeling much better, so I needed to rest. I had my sister celebrated her party on Sunday. Her husband celebrated her 40th. So nice. We gathered as a family. I danced, even though I was sick, and she did not know. But I rested yesterday and on Monday, and I went to my children's school.
Okay.
I've not been to this new school like I used to do when I was with friends. When I have two children, I relax. I know that's scared like a child mother, but I saw that they were super excited. Both of them got so excited.
Happy to see mommy in school.
Mommy came to school. So I will do that more often.
That's nice.
I used to do impromptu visit to school. You know, schools that have rules of visiting time and all. I don't adhere. I walk into school when I am ready to come to check on my children. And I think I should do it more often. They were excited about it.
So did they let you go into let you go straight to their classes, or they call them?
I did not wait to. Somebody was trying to escort me straight to the class.
So you can't
get close. The security will.
No, they have the rules. Even in their old school, they had those rules, but I never had there. I think that when a school puts those rules down, there's a problem. Parents should freely.
No, people can't. You have like 50 parents just walking into the school to disrupt classes. So you can't have that. It's wrong.
Imagine what I found out with my son.
Yeah, but that's one person. So that's
so there's no school. Any school that has a rule, I would tell them it's exempted for me. If you don't, I take my child.
Okay. Alaja Tope.
How are you? I'm very good. Happy to be alive. Grateful to God for opportunities and counting my blessings. There's, you know, these videos that social media is a god with different videos, and I think that I'm happy that we're seeing more videos that are showing the behind the scenes of the things we see, because there are many packaged truths about what is online, and we need to be more aware. We should take what we see online with a pinch of salt. I saw this person, a fit person that was padding the you saw that one too. Yeah.
Then I saw the one that is opening using the leg to open the boot, and somebody was actually opening the boot. There are many things that we see online.
You said you're thanking God for life. You know, it just reminded me of a family friend. I just heard a story yesterday, and it really broke my heart. A young man in Badore area. He was coming from LBS, going home. And the police, some guy been wearing an army uniform, accused him of hitting him. I said he didn't hit anybody because driving his parents' car was a big pride. So obviously he attracted them. So the guy got into the bike and followed. This is a young man, 23-year-old, young man, driving, followed him, got him out, used a whip to whip him in this Lagos. One day when they whipped him with the koboko. After that, they now told him that he had to pay the money. Of course, he didn't have a 30K in his account. Started calling family members. Everybody was really scared. And I had daylight robbery. Eventually, he departed with 110,000 naira. This young man.
Did you get pictures or anything? Were there onlookers? Nobody saw that.
Nobody wanted in the Badore area. So it's so painful. When you say, I thank God for life. Trust me, every day. Because the mother was like, she was just, her heart was in her mouth because she was just crying. She was just scared. Because this is my little boy. Because usually he has his own car. We had a flat tire. So he took mom's car.
You know, just very good. They saw him as a small boy with a big car.
Yes, and they said, you know, so it's a serious prayer. So you go and come back.
Just be thanking God.
Yeah. How are you doing, Mariam?
I'm fine. I want to talk about my vultures today.
Oh, yeah. We missed you talking about that.
Yes. So, you know, I found out something that Yoruba people actually have a saying about vultures. And so it's really strange when many Yoruba people say they don't know they haven't seen a vulture, or they only see them as evil birds. There's a saying in Yoruba, of course I can't say it in Yoruba, but in English it says that we do not eat vultures, we do not kill vultures, and we do not use them for sacrifice. That means even our ancestors understood the importance and the role of vultures in our environment. So sometimes this over-Westernization waters down, what is really important to us. And we're relearning what our ancestors already knew with education. Yeah. So this is something that we already have in our culture.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's so good.
All right, I have to wrap up, but I can't go without saying a happy birthday to Alaja She's one of my mom's, my late mom's very close friend. She was one person that My mom spoke to last. I mean, she and Mosi used to gist a lot. Even while she was sick, she asked for her. They came together, they gisted, laughed together before she finally stopped talking. So today's her birthday. She's 70 years today. Happy birthday, Ma.
Happy birthday, Ma.
Thank you for your support for my mom. Thank you for being her friend. Thank you for being her good friend. On that note, we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Right, we're going to start with The Nation. Petrol to sell for 340 naira per litre next year, says Kyari. How to revamp economy by World Bank. FG launches enhanced passport in the UK. FG rejects Lagos #NSAS panel report. 2.3 trillion naira spent to cushion COVID-19 effects. APC reconciliation panel gets 35 petitions. And 3 die, 4 injured in Ondo community clash. Reps pass bill abolishing BSc and HND dichotomy. All right, let's start with the major headline. Who has a petrol story?
So according to Mele Kyari, the federal government plans to remove subsidy finally by February next year, and petrol will start to sell for a simple amount of 340. I'm talking to myself to get used to this. So he, at that presentation, also presented the 2 MDs of the downstream and the upstream sector of the NNPC, and you know they talked about. Okay, sorry, that was the Minister for State for Petroleum, but he was addressing payment of subsidy that is end, and Nigerians will have to start to pay 340 naira per litre. That the process we're going through is easing out of subsidy, and that the federal government plans to convert subsidy to payment of 40 million Nigerians who will be receiving 5,000. What do they call that in the abroad? Some sort of assistance that they'll be getting. That's as
like welfare.
Welfare fund, but that's become contentious. A lot of people have agreement and disagreement about it. So we'll wait to see.
Yeah. So during the 8th Assembly, there's a Senator Edward Pajok who had passed the bill on the abolishing of the dichotomy between HND and degree holders. You know, we normally in Nigeria, HND holders are sort of treated maybe a little less than. Yes. So when they're being employed, they're employed at grade level 6, I think. Yes, level 6 or 7, while BSc holders are employed at placed at level 8. And sometimes entry-level salaries is 100,000 for degree holders and about 70,000 or less for HND holders. And that when you look at it, what they learn is the same. In fact, even more technical than degree holders. And so they're asking that should be abolished. Right. And it has passed, you know, it has been passed at the House of Reps, so it will be sent to the Senate for concurrence and to the presidency for assent.
This is an amazing news, though. Yes. I think it is a good thing, and we can't wait for them to fully implement it. Okay. I'll take the story of the the Minister for State for Budget and National Planning, Mr. Clem Agba, was speaking concerning the COVID stimulus package of 2.3 trillion naira that was spent to cushion the COVID-19 effect. Says that despite what happened with COVID, Nigeria remains the largest economy in Africa and the most populous nation within Africa, that the 2.3 trillion was spent to expand the economy. Most of this was into fiscal and monetary policies, specific social programs and intervention. The funds were used to support businesses. There was tax relief for people, for companies. Business and household individuals got loans. And it was just giving the general overview of how Nigeria has been able to successfully glide through the COVID-19 challenge in a way that did not impact too negatively on our economy.
Okay, I was going to quickly take the story from the Ministry of Interior, Honorable Rauf Aregbesola. They rolled out something called the enhanced passport in the UK. Now, he acknowledged that they're aware of the huge challenges in passport administration because due to shortage of booklets and obviously corruption around, because you know many Nigerians abroad have actually complained that they're unable to get their Nigerian passport. So he rolled out something called the enhanced passport, which, according to him, is a more sophisticated version of the passport than the standard one that we have. And it has more security features. And this passport is one of the most secure passports in the world. So I don't know what it looks like. I think it looks the same, but it has more security features. And it was rolled out in the UK, and I hope it goes in America too, and across the world.
Other countries,
Nigeria is one country that prints their own abroad.
Did they tell you they printed it abroad?
Did they tell me?
He said he's rolling it out.
Why did we run out of booklets? It has to be brought in. People wait endlessly for booklets.
Well, I don't know. We don't know that. The report did not say that.
The number to drop. We have too many issues.
The reports I read did not say that one. The ones that they just rolled out in house passport. I don't know where they print it.
They print abroad.
Let us move on now to the Punch. Hashtag NSAS. Amnesty others knock FG as lie rubbishes Lekki massacre report. We moved through Ondo, Ekiti, Kogi, Kwara during 2 weeks in kidnappers' den, says victim. My father never got over the NDLEA ordeal, says Babasue's son. Judge upturns plea bargain. Jails copper for defrauding American in the romance scam. We're probing those behind the release of Adedoyin's audio references command. Let's find that story. A governor says subsidy hamper salary in 2022, and they back the 5,000 naira grant. EFCC picks up Fakin Kayode for alleged forgery and document manipulation. Panel fails to quiz Bala Usman 6 months after suspension as NPA boss. Okay.
Okay, so
I was going to start with the major headline. The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, was saying, it wasn't just, it was actually, he organized a press briefing to say that the reports of the hashtag NSAS that we all saw was tales by moonlight, suggesting that it was false. I think he said actually it was false. And many of us have gone after him for what he has said, and they thought it was utterly irresponsible. And in the time where government is trying to placate the nerves, he is seeming to inflame it at this point, and that is totally irresponsible on this part. Okay.
So the NYSC, the copper who was jailed for 2 months by the judge in Abuja. So this copper, his name is Ajayi Ayokunle, had defrauded by impersonating one Dr. Joshua. He had defrauded an American of $1,000. He was arrested, and he had left about $500 in his account. And he did a plea bargain with the police and tried to get out of this. But the judge said no, just decrying the rampant nature of people doing this. This is a 30-year-old Nigerian who could have been more productive, but decided. So the judge thought, plus your plea bargain, which is, of course, to return the $500 left in his account and the phone that he used to carry out this fraud, he should also go and serve a 2 months jail term.
Nice. Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the review and Punch. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Still on Punch. Yes,
yes, I have a story. Yes, so 200-level student of the Federal School of Surveying, Oyo State, he's identified here as Bolu. He was giving his experience in the hands of kidnappers. He said for 2 weeks, on his way from Lagos to Akure, they had kidnapped them, he and others in the vehicle. That he got to a checkpoint and they met these soldiers dressed fully, in army uniform. He stopped them, and then they asked them to follow them to the barracks. And that was how they began the journey through the bushes, all the way from Akure, and they ended up in Kwara State. They said while they were in the bushes, they fed them raw cassava and maize. Eventually, they had someone come pay their ransom. And that's how they let them go. They gave them 1,500 for transport. And he says his brother that was with him spent some days in the hospital and just come out. And when they asked him if he reported this to the police, it seemed like they didn't report it to the police. Says they are home, they've paid the ransom, and so they did not make any reports to the police. Yes.
I want to take the story of former NPA boss. The Punch carries it that 6 months after her suspension, Adiza Bala Usman hasn't been called for investigation. Now, this made news because prior to her suspension, there was fracas between herself and the Minister for Transport, Rotimi Amechi. And the situation surrounding her removal didn't follow. It was like, okay, there's some misconduct going on within this place. She should be suspended while someone else was put in charge. Allegations are saying that the person put in charge was more favorable to the minister, and that the investigation, the panel that was considered, the 11-man panel considered to investigate if she's been following the rule of law, hasn't even called her for any questioning so far. I feel that, and I'm talking to people, I'm a woman, and it might seem like I'm partial, but I feel that women work so hard to get any political appointment. If anything is going to be going wrong in our removal, it should be done with the due process in such a way that evidence-based, not sentimental. She should be reinstated.
Exactly.
Okay.
I take it very personally.
They've called us engineers and judges and they say, okay, moving on to Daily Sun. FG rejects Lagos #NSAS report. Malaria kills 30 children daily in Nigeria, says federal government. IPOB goes after sellers, users of Unkpuru Miri in southeast. Yoruba World Center must champion return of looted artifacts, says Oshibajo. Reps pass bill abolishing BSc and HND dichotomy, and 2-day flight disruption begins in airports. Okay, which story are we starting with?
So IPOB goes after sellers and users of Unkpuru Miri. So this is local parlance for methamphetamine, what a lot of us know as meth. It's a hard drug, and in the southeast, there's a worrying trend of young people now consuming this thing. And so IPOB and so many other stakeholders, in the southeast are, calling people out, those who are distributing it and those who are using it. I've been seeing so many, conversations concerning this Unkpuru Miri on social media, just telling the Southeast youth, this is not what you need to start to engage in, because, of course, when they take it, they become high. Some of them have psychological issues at the end of it. So, a lot of the stakeholders in the East are saying, see, we know young Igbo people to be hardworking, enterprising. This is not what we do. We are not drug users or drug distributors. And they said that anywhere they see anybody distributing, that person would be, dealt with accordingly. And I just want to appeal to youth. I don't know what it is that's pushing us there. I know there are issues, but we can talk about this thing. Right. We can, put ourselves and use our hands to do things instead of drugs. With drugs, you just find yourself not able to do anything, not able to grow or develop. So this is something that we need to all fight together as a nation.
Okay, I'll take the story of from the Minister for Health, Osage Hanire, was speaking to the fact that the estimate is that 30 children die daily from malaria in Nigeria. In that same statement, it debunks the fact that there were some reports going around that about 82 billion naira has been approved in the 2022 budget for purchase of malaria nets, purchase of nets, mosquito nets. And he said that wasn't true, that he didn't know where the reports came from. There's a lot of conversation on that they've done a lot of purchase of nets and distribution at reduced malaria, but there's still, the number is on the decline. It used to be worse, it's on the decline, and that there's a lot being done in Nigeria to reduce the number of people that succumb to malaria, and that they are working on it. But I feel that malaria goes beyond government. There's also a large portion that we also should do. The government provide primary healthcare facilities while we sanitize our environment to reduce the number of mosquitoes available to bite, and then we have access to healthcare when we go to the hospitals.
All right. I remember taking the story because the Yoruba World Center being launched by the Vice President yesterday, so he was there to launch. Part of his statement was saying that we must join the global movement to champion the return of artifacts that were looted, stolen out of the shores and plundered out of the shores. And I think recently we saw how those that were stolen from the Benin Kingdom.
Yes, I didn't even know Yoruba had artifacts that were stolen.
But interestingly, he said something that I thought was really profound, which I think reminds us of the strength of our culture, who we are as a people. He said that this initiated place is a place that will give context and depth to our understanding of our past, our place and role in the present, and hopefully our preparation for the future, which I thought was profound, because if you don't know where you're coming from, you can't know where you're going to. So this place is going to be a repository of information about the people. And I think it's important that all the cultures might have to replicate this kind of center. So that people can have a...
Let me tell you the story of air traffic manager. I've been taking this story.
Traffic management.
The air traffic. Okay. So air traffic controllers. You know, we took the story a few weeks back, where they said they had to bring in retired air traffic and non-air traffic people to manage the air traffic. Now they have decided to go on strike. The strike happens every morning between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., disrupting most of the flights all through the day. Affected my husband yesterday. And the conversation is that they've lost 9 air traffic controllers to stress-related deaths, and that they need more hands. And the conversation has been ongoing. Now they've gone on strike. They say this one is just a forewarning, and we're entering that festive season where we cannot travel by road because of the insecurity challenges. We're having to fly. We cannot have this.
So air traffic controller, those guys that do like this.
Yes.
Air traffic controller.
So it's not the.
I think also behind
the scenes, also in
all of them,
the control room.
They are all working together. So they are saying that the strike is in the mornings. And this is a forewarning.
That's the prime time. Everybody goes in the morning to work, back and forth like that. Moving on quickly, let's see how much time we have. Just very little time. Vanguard, NSAS report, we talked about that already. That's fine, it's still not taken. World Bank experts label others react as federal government ends petrol subsidy next year. Hike. We don't have control over cooking gas prices, federal government. Adegoke's murder. Hotel owner made video before his arrest, says Osun police. Buhari suspends inauguration of NNPC board indefinitely. Killings, Imo governor battles army over burnt houses and shops. Okay.
So the Minister for State for Petroleum that I mistakenly added to the CEO of the NNPC was at the Aso Rock to present upstream MD and downstream MD to the president. And when journalists now ask, what are you going to do about cooking gas hike? He says, we don't have control over it. If you look at around the world news, petrol and gas is expensive around the world. And because even in Europe, where it is mostly refined, it is expensive. That affects it because it's imported here. Yeah. You know, what we can control is maybe VAT, removal of the VAT, and some other charges that are within the shores. And we are working on it. Hopefully, that would ease the festive period. But for now, there's no control over that. And I'm reading it, I'm saying, and this is our Minister for State for Petrol, and we have gas in abundance, but we cannot refine it and just cannot control it.
They cannot, because it's expensive all around.
Why it's expensive.
Are we not the only country that don't refine? We have Butime, we import it.
We have gas. We're going to start the conversation again. Let me
drink water.
Drink water.
My 5-year-old daughter will give you a summary of this subsidy matter. Trust me, she knows what's going on. The Nigerian Tribune, our final paper, let's find a story of not taking it. Igboho DSS asks court to stay execution of judgment, says extradition procedure is ongoing. Badly brutalized Nigerian needs rescuing and rebuilding, says, are you? Niger government cries out over the presence of IPOB and Boko Haram in their state. OAU students murder, Adedoyin's leaked video recorded before arrest. And LPPC NBA probes, why will Malami survive again? Nigeria's leadership dogged by abdication of high value, says Oshimbajo. Okay, which story?
Yeah, so just an update on the OAU murder. Okay. So the owner of the hotel where the murder was alleged to have taken place had done an audio sort of explaining himself and extricating himself from the accusations that he may have something to do with it. From the report we took yesterday, the police had denied any knowledge of that audio, but now they're saying, okay, they now know that there was an audio, but he said that this audio was recorded before his arrest. He said the family had already accused him of being a ritualist, and so he made that audio to explain to people, I'm not a ritualist. But police say they are still on the matter, and I guess we'll see how this unravels.
I wanted to quickly take it.
We have to run. Unfortunately, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. Run out of time. Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right.
Thanks for staying with us. So, our hot topic today is obviously related to one of the stories we took in the papers. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, the Minister of Finance on Budget and National Planning, said that Nigeria will remove subsidy by 2022. I think it's February to be precise. Yeah. And they're going to replace that, but the 250 billion they hope to save from that subsidy removal per month, they're going to use that money to pay 5,000 naira a month transportation grants to the poorest Nigerians. She further stated that subsidy regime in the oil sector remains unsustainable and economically disingenuous. We know that. What are your thoughts on this 5,000 naira transportation grant they want to give to the poor Nigerians? Please call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also send us messages on YouTube and on Facebook. We'd like to hear your thoughts. The reason why this sounds a bit frustrating is because it's like we keep consuming. Like, we don't understand that if you give me 5,000 naira and I transfer and use the transportation, and that's it.
We'll finish.
Is it that we are bereft of ideas? Or we don't see, or we don't even know what the right steps are to take? What are your thoughts on this? Because, or you think it's a good idea? Maybe we don't know because we're living in a bubble. Maybe there are people that actually desperately need that 5,000 naira a month for transportation, and this money would actually indeed make things different and easier for them. So maybe, hey, let's look at both sides. What are your thoughts on this? Let me start from Tope. Go ahead, please.
So I wasn't shocked when I read the report. I know that we know that there is a cabal, that there's an institutional structure that profits from subsidy, and they will find another way to make money. And whenever we're distributing funds, there is a machinery that will distribute the funds. There are people that will profit from fund distribution, and we like to throw money at situations without actually solving the true problems on ground. So we know what our problem is as a nation. We have challenges with revenue, we have challenges with education, we have challenges with health sector, we have challenges with our roads, we have challenges with trusting the system. Subsidy has been removed several times, so this is not the first time we're hearing that we're going to remove subsidy. What we want to hear now is not that you're going to throw money into putting 5,000 naira into different people's pockets. It is that we are going to create a system that would ensure that every Nigerian that is suffering to pay this 300 and something naira per litre would have the impact translated to them. Poverty is everywhere. That 5K would do a lot for people, Mariah. That's the truth. There's some people that 5K would be like, every month, this money will change my life. For them, that's the truth. But if you keep giving them that money every month, they will remain there where they are. It won't solve the problem. But if we create a system where we've had Shopee, and Shopee had its merits, but we did not implement it. So for me, subsidy removal, no brainer. Let's remove the subsidy. About time. What should we do with the savings? Please invest in industry, in areas where it will affect everybody's life. Okay. Education and health. Those are the only two options I believe are viable.
Let me come to you, because there's also a trust issue. Maybe on the side of the ministry of the government, they're saying, if I throw money against education, all the money we throw in, what happened? So maybe the system itself can absorb this money without us seeing the effect. So I'd rather just give this money and give it to the citizens. Like, okay, take your 5,000 naira. So if we look just to see their own side, it's easier for them to do that than throw it again into an institution and realize that somebody, a few factors, a few cabal, absorb that money and doesn't really get to the people.
You're right. I think that is something that must definitely be what they considered when they came up with this idea. And this idea is quite popular now we hear America, recently they are sending cash into people's accounts. So, and sometimes, in Nigeria, we tend to do that where we see the West is doing something, we quickly jump on it, and then without really measuring it against, our own issues. So if we had like a working system, especially when it comes to our education and our health, I think there's a huge problem there. It needs funds, and it needs funds right now. So if we had that working, I can understand the injection of cash into people's, pockets. It would help. We're not saying it would not help at all. But also, this is Nigeria. The question of trust, of money going into programs that people may not feel, or a cabal may take it, or some people would, siphon it. There's also that trust when it comes to sending cash to people. This is Nigeria. We are constantly talking of how many millions of Nigerians still do not have bank accounts. So for me, it looks like it's going to be a logistics nightmare. And then they'll pay consultants. How are we going to do? Are we the Nigerians that do not have the account numbers? What are we doing? Is it now e-money? And then we getting the mobile phones? Are we sending our vice president again to the market square to be sharing money? Do you understand? So it just doesn't seem like it's well thought through. The best thing for me, the best advice I would give is for Nigeria, we should look for ways we can put monies into institutions, our schools and our primary healthcare centers. We have healthcare centers that are falling apart without medicines, no doctors, no staff, no training. That is where it should go. And then we need to work on how this thing would eventually impact on people. But, you know, just putting money in people's pockets, for how long are we doing it? And sometimes it even seems like a politicians' way of being relevant, so that we can say that Nigerians are collecting, see what we are doing, Nigerians are collecting money and they are going, and that would, you know, just help them for a bit. But we want long-lasting, impactful development in our country.
Fantastic. Nima, what are your thoughts on this? This issue, as both of them have said, 5,000 will go a long way, but what else is sustainable? And I'm trying to see things from the government's perspective, because they have indeed thrown money at different things. But we've seen these same Nigerians, for example, infrastructure. They tried to build trains, and we Nigerians remove the racks.
No,
the train racks.
Problem they refuse to
so the point is the train racks, the train tracks, we removed that. So they build infrastructure, and we still destroy. So maybe it's easier for them. Let me just distribute the cash.
It's not with that's throwing money away now.
Yes, now.
It's not with the people who remove the tracks. We have criminals in society. The federal government is failing at doing something about them. Kidnap people, they get ransom, they go to tracks, they sabotage infrastructures from working, and government has to be deliberate to do something about it, but then again, they shy away from naming bandits, terrorists, and so we bought Sukarno, but we cannot go and shoot them. A lot of problems that I don't think this 5,000 will solve anything. In fact, I think it's a pitiable amount compared to the hardship people have to go through. Now, if you put 5,000 at petrol, for someone like me, who already spent about 50,000 fueling my car to work and around per month, how much will 5,000 do? That's less than 15 liters of petrol.
You're not in the poorest.
Wait, poor. I am federal government. If you have data, check my accounts. You know? So we know that when you talk about these poorest people, they don't have enough data to even reach the people. As a worker, amongst ourselves as we're sitting down, the mere fact that you have a job that earns you money, do you know how many people, you don't want to give out figure, how many people you put on 5,000? And that's the person who say, now ordinary 5,000 give me, I get problem way past like that. True. So when we know our National Assembly, we're debating just yesterday that 600 naira to feed one copper is a paltry sum of money. And we're now saying we'll give 5,000 monthly to poorest people, 40 million Nigerians, out of the 200 about million. You see, we know we are not solving the problem.
I remember there was a report I read some time back when they had put hospitals, I can't remember what they brought to the hospital, and Nigerians stole these things, took it home. So maybe it was Facebook. I'm just saying that it's still the same problem. I'm putting myself in the shoes of the minister right now. If I throw this money into the health sector, for example, let me just give the example. Let me paint the scenario. And we say, okay, right now we're going to get a deal to get MRI machines across the hospitals, get these. These same Nigerians will start having PPP, a busy PPP they do, where I will be selling, people will be paying me to use the MRI machine when my guys are not around. We keep subventing the system to our own personal benefits.
Advantage.
So the point I'm trying to make is that maybe they have tried in different ways to invest, and yet, for whatever reason, it's not getting to the larger population.
When the attempt at first removal of subsidy was done during Jonathan, we had Tope supposed to reinvest the subsidies into infrastructure.
Exactly.
After Jonathan, what do we have to show for those infrastructure? So, we have continuous borrowing for the same infrastructure we're supposed to have removed subsidy for. We have our raw materials controlled only by the federal and sold, and the proceeds put, yet we still leave what we have. We don't exchange our minerals. We go and borrow to solve problems continuously, creating a problem that we will need funds to service. Okay, we then claim to have revenue problem, and then we can't solve them. It seems to me that, you know, the people sitting down are just there, use the quickest method, or somebody's abroad telling us what to do about our own local problems.
We need to therefore review what happened to Tope, because that was the intervention. Tope was an intervention for this same issue
invest in infrastructure.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll hear your thoughts on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we are discussing this 5,000 naira transportation grant the federal government wants to give to poor Nigerians from the money they save after they remove subsidy. Interestingly, the governors for
30 to 40 million Nigerians.
So, interestingly, the governors forum, that means the governors have said they're in support wholeheartedly.
Yes.
I'm thinking to myself, are we missing something? Is this something we're not seeing? Maybe we should get one of the governors.
It will be good. You know that one of the things that make people win elections is stomach infrastructure. People,
so you think it's a stomach infrastructure strategy?
It's a fantastic stomach infrastructure strategy. You give me 5K, thank you very much. You are consistently giving me 5K. But after 1 year, you would have, it would accrue to trillions of naira with no tangible achievements. They've ate the food. It's passed out of their system. They will come back and meet you again. Nothing done. The real challenge with Nigeria is our institutional challenge. We have institution weak, very, very weak institution. Police is weak. Judiciary is weak. Education is weak. Health is weak. All civil service is weak. So the institutions are weak. And if we can just strengthen the institution, we can increase efficiency and productivity. So why don't we put the money into where it will have long-term effects?
Another person said that this 250 billion should actually go into security. Let us recruit more policemen, equip them, train them, because one of the issues we have, because we have less than 500,000 policemen across the nation. So remember, I think, was it Ashiraju that was saying some time back when he was saying that we should go and hire 50,000 or 5 million police. So maybe they should actually allocate this 250 billion to invest in the police and security, where once we have well-trained, educated police officers, where they look good and they have a mind reorientation of their mind. Maybe Nigeria will be more secure, and if Nigeria becomes secure, you can run your business, you can go to work safe, and then the economy would have a positive effect on our economy. So instead of dashing people 5,000 naira, invest it in the police.
All of us agree that
the police is a result of this issue of police.
Yes, and we'll be very upset if after all this spread of money, we hear that we're going to go and get money to resuscitate and revitalize our refineries. It would not make any sense, because now we hope that the work, after the Petroleum PIB Act has been signed and everything, I hope that that work that needs to be done there is done. Our refineries should be up and running. We will not have we cannot have that conversation again after this. To be saying we're looking for money or our refineries are not working. We cannot go back, we cannot keep having the conversation over and over again. We stop the subsidies. We make sure that that petroleum industry is working. Everything that needs to do, everything that we need to do, using our gas, not just flaring it and just wasting it. We know how to channel it and use it for commercial purposes. Those are the things that we should be concentrating on. I still do not agree that giving people 5,000 naira is the way to go.
We all agree.
We talked about, I remember during the pandemic, when we were giving out food, I think they were supposed to be sending monies to families, school children that were not going to school, to make sure that they get something in the, at home. Many people did not get those funds. Many people came out and said, did not even know that there were any funds like that. But we had the minister come out and reel out this huge number of amount of money that she had sent to different people. So we don't think that sort of giving out money works for Nigeria. We do not have the sort of data that you can follow up on where monies have gone, who gets it, and that people actually get it. So this is not the way to go.
Did they consult far and wide within the other ministers? Because I know they have other ministers
support it now. Because it works. For the political class, this is amazing. This is pre-election. This is amazing for the political class. It is the common Nigerian whose funds we will be using to cover up this subsidy. Because this subsidy is actually our money. We are the ones paying the subsidy now. We'll be the one. Everybody is paying it every time we're buying fuel.
Let me take this call from John. John, are you there? Hello, John. Hello? Yes, Nima.
So even the one that they did and it was traceable, that's the one the VP was in charge of for years.
Trader money.
That required the traders, to use their phones and their BVN, so it could be traced. Just for transparency, it was done neatly. Let's talk about the effect on the traders who received the monies. You put it in your business and it just melts into it. There's really it's not capital.
And the inflation will collect itself.
To change the business. If you say 5,000, let's just say we are dashing monies for the purpose of being seen, take pictures with it. But when you really want to help a person, you give the person
Teach me how to fish.
The skill to fish, the skill to survive.
Okay, I'm told I have the caller. Good morning, are you there?
Yes, I'm
You're
here
live.
now.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I simply want to say that we should be careful how we tempt God. Can we look at how God has blessed this nation with crude oil, and yet we are housing over 100 million poor people? What is it we are doing that is new? Right from 1999, the PDP government, for example, has been allocating millions of naira and saying that is for poverty alleviation. Now, this is a country that doesn't have a database of its population. So that has always been money down the drain.
Yes.
We have hiked prices in everything. You know, everything has increased. So we have increased even the level, the number of poor people in the nation.
Yes.
I think it is a policy going in the wrong direction to add any weight to the suffering of the Nigerian people. This is a country that produces crude oil, and we should have domestic refineries working before we do anything like removal of subsidy. This is the advice I'm giving to this government. Don't push the people to the wall. Good morning.
Thank you very much, John. So you see, sometimes I don't have the details of what happened during Jack Conde's time, but I remember that when he was in charge of Lagos State, he took the bull by the horn.
In barely 4 years.
And in barely 4 years, he was able to do this. This was a leader, a visionary leader, who was focused on doing and not to be seen to be doing. And I think that's what's missing here, because it is it's very worrisome to think that a whole cabinet can discuss and agree. Like 5,009, you want to use 250 billion that you're saving per month.
If there's anyone among them that don't agree, they should say so now, that they did not agree.
Let me help.
Because we're judging them already.
You see with Jack Conde's leadership, you see quick fixes to problems. Not long term, not 2020 plan, 2030 SDG plan. No. He came in, there was housing deficit, he met it. There was this deficit, he met it. The roads were bad, he created public works. Problem fix. But now this government will come. We have a 5-year plan. If you give 5,000 times for 40 million Nigerians in 5 years,
how would you trace?
How do you know?
How do you trace that they got it?
How do you even explain how you change their lives? Oh, yeah, put the 40 million Nigerians out. How did it change their lives?
Exactly.
If you use the trader money, the farmers, all of them, the level of elite corruption that affected that is unimaginable.
Nima, what will shock you is that there will be a consultant that is going to do this distribution that will collect like 2% or 3% of all the money.
One of the ministers tried to explain
let me take this call from Josephine.
COVID intervention now.
Josephine, are you there? You're live.
Yes, Mariah, God bless you. God bless you all.
Good morning, madam.
Mariah, good morning, and everybody there.
Good morning.
Okay. See, the problem we have in this country is a misplaced priority, Mariah. Misplaced priority. Can you hear me?
Very clearly, ma. Very clearly.
Misplaced priority. If it only this is the
Oh, we really wanted to hear Madam Josephine. Okay, so obviously she's saying that it's a misplaced priority because, okay, so let us pack the idea about his political move as what is the election?
My own speculation.
Let's put it on one side. Okay, that's a possibility. Yes, put it on one side. But a long-term plan is what Nigerians are saying. Give us something that we can always do. That was this 250 billion.
Long-term is a fraud. The government leaves office and then says his successor or predecessor, one thing affects the other, they did not continue.
Just strengthen the institution.
If you come in, give us a plan that this administration, within 4 years, I want to have a refinery, at least in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, to start to refine our crude, so we are no longer petrodollar prisoners. Put that problem on ground. Go and borrow the money, since since borrowing money is the solution. Bring the money. Put the 6 geopolitical zone refineries. Let's start to deal with refining our own year, and now it gets to people. You have done your own, be going. Don't give us 10-year plan. Be going. When the next one comes, give us a plan. How you plan to remove subsidy for electricity, and how you want to make sure that each region, 6 geopolitical zones again can have. Do your own and go. Please, any long-term plan campaigners, I don't want to see. Because one person said that COVID intervention is divided into 3 places, and that part of it is for the 774,000 jobs. And the people are still shouting, they have not paid also.
When did they have?
Please.
Yes, now, it's okay.
Yes.
It's absolutely correct.
Yes.
So,
don't worry about
it. It's really that choice between the devil and the deep blue ocean, because no matter which side you go, you could still see that. It's almost that, I can almost see that the government is totally, they are not sure they're not very clear.
The Nigerians
the problem is
not clear.
No, it's not clear.
They are not sincere.
Sincerity is one thing, but I think they're not clear.
I think it's sincerity.
Sincerity is an issue, but I think they're not. They don't even know what to do. Because the truth is that no, trust me, these leaders sometimes they seem like they don't have an idea.
But we have hospitals that are good doctors.
All I want for government to understand is what many Nigerians want is for you to create an ecosystem for us to grow and develop. And in doing that, put funds and people behind health, education, put people behind those institutions. Make it possible for people to get to hospitals and see doctors and get medicine.
Let me throw a spanner in that way. Let me throw a spanner in that way.
Schools as well.
Mariam, let me throw a spanner in that way. They have done quite a bit for the agricultural sector. How many of you young people have taken advantage of it?
Me, I'm a farmer.
Wait. I'm just talking about how many young people have actually taken advantage of all the agricultural interventions. Some have, but many haven't. No. So the point is that we have thrown money to this economy, but people are still not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, good. That's the thing. That throw money at.
Yes.
So don't throw money at. When you throw money at something, is we have put money here, you come and you give us this is what we have thrown money at. Don't throw money at. Follow the money. Make sure that the money is doing what you have asked it to do. Prosecute those who are not using that money for what it's meant to do. You can only just throw money. You have to make sure that it is implemented. That is the work of the executive, to implement it.
Okay, so can I therefore propose, as I have done in the past, that we should go back to death by firing squad. No, I'm telling you, listen. We need some drastic impunity that happens. Oh, my producer is shouting in my ears. Let me go.
Stop saying that.
We'll be right back. I think that should stop.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we had to wrap up our last segment because we can't have a complete conversation if we don't bring in either the Minister of Finance or someone to give us an insight onto what happened to Shopee funds and how exhaustive the option is this 5,000 naira transportation grant that they plan to have for 40 million poor Nigerians. So we'll continue the conversation whenever we get in somebody to come and clarify. But in the meantime, it's clear from what the ladies have said and what our viewers have said that it's not the most creative way to expend that 250 billion naira that Nigerians are going to save from subsidy. Okay, moving on now to the other segment. Let's talk. We're going to have our guest on the show. His name is Bright UK Ukwenga. He's an author, speaker, and a life and leadership coach. Known for employment, he will be discussing how to bridge the unemployment gap in the Nigerian sector through resourcefulness and entrepreneurial drive of young people. So you can join the conversation by calling us again on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also send us messages on YouTube and Facebook. We'd like to hear your thoughts on this. So should I call you UK or Bright?
So Bright.
Right, okay, Bright. So, Bright, before you came on the show, we were talking earlier about the fact that there have been quite a lot of interventions. You know, the government has put in funds to agriculture. They did, even during Jonathan's time, they did something called, what's that
Shopee.
thing? No, not Shopee. That fund they were giving young people. I can't remember the name.
You win. Poverty.
You win. God bless you. You know, there's so many things that there's trader money now for traders, you know. Now, in your view, how can young people take advantage of some of these opportunities available by government to become better entrepreneurs and profitable entrepreneurs in Nigerian society?
All right. So first, I think that Nigeria's problem is not just about whether we have money or not. Generally speaking, there is an ideological side to our problem. And I've often said to people around me that if we were to distribute money to every single Nigerian in the country today, to tell you how bad the situation is, people will still die scrambling to get that money. All right? So Nigeria's problem is not about whether we have money or we don't have money. It's first and foremost, let's leave the government and think about us as individuals. What's our mindset, all right? Because I've come to realize that if people cannot make money without money, they most likely might not be able to make money even when they have money, all right? So there is a mindset problem that actually needs to be dealt with first and foremost before we talk about interventions here and there, all right? In my book, Wealth Without Capital, I talked about what I call the psychology of progress, all right? And this applies to individuals, it applies to organizations, it applies to institutions and to governments, to nations generally, all right? There is a poverty cycle, there is a prosperity cycle, and these are issues of mindset. A lot of us still have the poverty mindset. This country, I mean, Africa generally, there is the poverty mindset that has plagued us such that regardless of the avalanche of resources that we are exposed to and we have access to, we don't seem to make progress because the mindset is wrong.
No, but Bright, when you say avalanche, it sounds like there is plenty resources. So I know that you'll tell me now that it's the poverty mindset that is not letting people see the resources. Can you help those that are, everybody watching now, that is, they are trying to see, what is this man saying? What is the avalanche of resources? What they are saying is avalanche of problem. There's bad road, fuel is expensive, food is expensive, everything is going up. What is the avalanche of resources? Are we missing something?
Yes. So basically, what I mean is this. If you talk about the fact that there are problems in the first place, it means there are opportunities. If there is food problem, for example, there are opportunities. All right? So what we would need to do is to shift from a resources thinking to a resourcefulness thinking. How do I solve the problem? How do I get money to solve the problem? If it's getting money to solve the problem, that's a different kettle of fish entirely. All right? But we must be able to think in terms of how to solve the problem, not even creating problems for ourselves in the first place.
All right. Okay, Bright. I see Nigerians as being very resourceful. I mean, I find them making the most of, you know, of their situation.
Okay.
And I see sometimes how government policy, it sort of sabotages that.
Yes.
And I fear that many times when we come and say to Nigerians, oh, people don't see the opportunities, like we are seeing the opportunities, we are applying ourselves, but somehow our country seems to be putting a stop or, not helping us push that. So my question is it really poverty mindset when you acknowledge these problems? Or is
caused
just
by the government? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But it becomes poverty mindset. And poverty here, I don't necessarily mean lack of money. When I say poverty, poverty means that you are on a pause, all right? You are on a spot for a long time. You are not making progress. Let's just put it that way, right? Now, if we become a poverty mindset, if because of the problem the government is, the stumbling block the government is putting our way, we decide to sit down and cry over it instead of finding a way around it. That's where the problem really is, all right? But yes, the government has to play its part. And maybe I should just mention this. There are three things that actually makes for the poverty mindset. The first one is the entitlement. The second is consumption. And the third is survival. Every other thing is within this cycle, right? Now, the place where the government plays its own role is to create an atmosphere that enables progress. The opposite of that would be, instead of entitlement, responsibility, instead of consumption, production, instead of survival, significance thinking, right? Now, how can the government enable progress? Is to create a culture and atmosphere, like I said. And in terms of shifting people from entitlement to responsibility, that is where putting up legal structures, institutions like someone said much earlier, right, comes into play. Because if there are no strong justice systems, people can't take responsibility in the first place.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still talking about how do you develop or grow wealth without capital, which is like the average problem a young person says, I don't have money. I can't start a business. My parents are poor. I don't have money. Let me start with that. Let me start with that question. How does a young person grow wealth when there's no capital?
Well, first and foremost, we need to realize that it is possible. The mindset has to shift from this is impossible So this is possible.
Okay.
So if the person doesn't have a positive mindset, there is no amount of sermon you give to him that will change that. All right. So first and foremost, we must realize that it is possible. Secondly, you need to realize that there is capital beyond money. Right? If a person can think about capital beyond money, then they realize that these things are really, really, really possible. All right. What are the capital that we have beyond money? Number one, you have heritage capital. Heritage capital talks about whatever your parents afforded you. All right. They gave you education. They gave you exposure. They gave you a good environment to grow up in. That's heritage capital. Secondly, there is intellectual capital. Not everyone has that advantage of a good head start, all right? But then there is intellectual capital. Intellectual capital talks about knowledge, talks about skills, and these can be gotten formally and informally. So whether you were given opportunity to go learn in a formal school or not, so far you were alive and you were able to attain adulthood, you have learned something. And you definitely know something that someone else doesn't know. You can convert that into money. Third, there is relational capital, which is where many people do not really look into, especially the young people of today, right? Everybody is going after money, but we forget that the amount of money you will eventually have is dependent on the amount of human interest you are able to generate. Yeah. So the quality of your network will eventually determine how much money flows into your account. And fourth, there is reputational capital, which has to do with trust. You know, recently I've been talking to young people, and sometimes I have to ask, if you were to start, maybe you don't have money, let's agree you don't have money, but if you were to start maybe a taxify business, how much do you need? How much do you need?
Taxify business.
Taxify, yes.
I need a car.
A car. You need a car, yes. You need a car, but you don't have to have a car.
Okay.
Yes.
You just need someone to trust
What you need, you need someone to trust you with their cars, and that's all. But most people have not built that reputational capital. Some have not even, put a right step forward to help someone else in need, all right? Because they're only thinking of their own needs. They've not solved other people's problems or meet the needs of others enough to earn quality relationships that can bring them the big deals.
Please, let's stay on that for a while. Yeah. Because this issue might bring deliverance to many people watching. Many people have needs. It's when they have needs, they reach out and try to find people that can help them. Yeah. And we've not taken that time as we are journeying through our lives to connect with people. It applies to young people. Yeah. It applies to people of our own age as well. And I wanted you to expand on how you can, anybody watching right now can start building those relationships. Not because you are envisaging how it would work for you, but what are the steps anybody can use to connect in a positive way, in a positive and practical way for those watching us right now?
All right, so very quickly, first and foremost, what I love to say is that people need to shift from the poverty mindset to the prosperity mindset, because that's really what makes for progress. And every progress you're going to make will be dependent on the quality of decisions that you are making. And to be honest, poverty mindsets affect every one of us, but to different degrees. All right. Now, that said, if you want to build quality relationships, you need to have a long-term view, which means you need to cure yourself of entitlement. You know, to cure yourself of consumption. When you meet people, you don't want to take advantage of them. When you meet people, you don't just want to get something from them immediately. All right? When you meet people also, you're not thinking in terms of survival, just about the immediate needs. You need to have a long-term view. The reason why people will pick up their phones and call you only when they have a need. I mean, someone reached out to me. This was someone that has hardly spoken to me for the past maybe 3-4 years and said she wants to buy a phone. And I'm like, we don't even talk. How am I one of the persons that come up in your mind when you need to buy a phone? I mean, an urgent 2K, as it were. You don't just ask for an urgent 2K. There is this saying that about top of the mind awareness, all right? You know, mind share. I mean, pocket share always begins with mind share. So you need to start investing in your relationships. First and foremost, I would say people need to position themselves well, all right? Get to where the kind of people you need really are, right? And, of course, that would also mean that you value relationships in the first place. Value people well enough to show it to them, that you respect them, that you love them, that you are genuinely interested in them, and you really want to help them make progress.
Let me come to Nima. Your thoughts?
So I agree with a lot of things that you've said, because now I have employees. And I wonder how they don't see the life of service and, you know,
Yes.
gaining trust and all of those things. But don't you think that when survival is in front of you,
Yes.
your responsibilities, your dependence, and all of that is in front of you, it's difficult to focus on all the other things that, you know, are laudable that you have mentioned. So that we now start to catch them young rather than catch the people that are already thinking, how do I survive? And they have the responsibility that government should have to provide the enabling environment for others that are dependent on them.
All right, so very quickly, I think people need to read the stories of others to understand that their situations are not peculiar. There is no one whose situation is peculiar. If you are hungry, there are 1,000,001 hungry people who have also become successful in whatever they're doing. Think about it. Whatever situation you think you found yourself in, certain other people have found themselves in worse situations. So you can't afford to say, because I need to survive, therefore I will grab everything I can see. There are seasons in our lives where we need to survive. COVID came. We just need to survive COVID. All right?
Yes.
But it shouldn't make you live for survival. There are two different things. Having to survive a particular season is different from being configured to live for survival. And that's where many people miss it. A lot of people just live for survival. But if you have to survive, it's a different kettle of fish entirely.
You see, what you said was quite interesting because I have a story of a young man. His name is Tijani. He's probably watching right now. And he worked at a company, you know, and in the company, I observed he was a young guy. He was very resourceful. If you need anybody, call Tijani. Do this, you want to buy gifts for this, somebody, call Tijani. Corporate everything. Tijani was the most resourceful young man. Then he had to leave. I don't know what happened. He left. And then he called people like me that know him. Okay, I'm starting a company, I'm doing this. And I'm using him today for what I'm doing because I remember how resourceful
he was
doing to the company, not even to me. To the company he was working. I just observed that this guy was so good. So I'm using him now for what I want for my corporate gifts for this season.
Fantastic.
I'm using his company because he did in his own small space. So he didn't have money.
was responsible.
He didn't start a business with money. But because he had relationships,
Quality relationships.
quality relationships that he led, that was the capital he used to get this business for me today. So that's an example. Young people, if you're working, if you're an intern, if you're working,
honestly,
do it well.
We can spend an hour talking about interns and the opportunities to build relationships. There are several interns that we have interfaced with in this company that they don't have our number and they cannot call us even after they are gone. And there are those that they came here, spent barely 3 months, but we will remember them every time we see them because they built that good relationship when they had the opportunity.
So there's something, you know, we have a lot of people who are coaches now and everybody has a message. And one of the things that young people are hearing now is always ask for money for whatever service you're rendering. You know, you're telling young people, on the one hand, you're saying to young people, just offer your service. Let people know how resourceful you are, how hardworking you are. And then on the other hand, you're saying for whatever it is that you give, you must put a price on it. Don't let people take advantage of it. So how does a young person differentiate between doing their best to show that, you know, by the time I'm ready to earn, I'll be able to earn something, or that I'm being taken advantage of because I'm not asking for money?
All right. I think people need to understand here that life is in stages. Right? There is nobody who made it overnight. And the fact that you started doing something, I mean, you just decide to take your market, your skill, you decide to monetize your skill, does not mean you will start making that huge profit from that first day. You need to build a network of people who know what you can do, who trust your service, who have tasted of it, to the point of having to recommend you to others. And say, see, once I was blind, now I see, courtesy of Bright UK. All right? Yes, when you have such quality people who believe in what you can do, then it's easy. But that's not going to come overnight, right? So
I have to wrap up on this, but I'd like you to give a final word on this because, I mean, we're talking to young people, and I'd like you to look at the camera and talk to young people out there because they can connect to you, they can relate to you. You walk these shoes. Tell them a bit about your experience, what you've done so far, where you are, and how they can learn from your own steps in 1 minute.
All right. So I'm also a digital media and publishing expert. And when I started my business, I didn't start making all the money. I was a skilled writer. Of course, I'm a skilled speaker also. Also good with graphics and all of that. But when I started out working for my boss. I mean, whose company I was working for before then. And then I wrote his books, you know, more like a ghostwriter. And then eventually I started taking that service to other people because Jesus said, what I say to one, I say to all. So if I can do it for one, I can do it for all. And then little by little, while I was working in the company previously, I'd had some networks, and then I kept building more networks as such. Sometimes I had to offer my service for free. Eventually, people saw that what I was doing was awesome. Today, the same service which I used to charge, some minimal money for, I charge in 7 figures. All right, so it took some time. I mean, over time, I was able to build the quality network that actually sponsors or drives my business now. So you don't always have to put money first. You actually have to take it phase by phase. Don't expect that this whole thing is going to happen overnight. Right. Success comes over thousands of nights.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I like it. Succeed and be significant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's all we can take on this segment. Thank you very much to our guests. When we come back, our final hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we were talking earlier with our guest who was explaining to us how to build wealth without capital. And there was a message that came in that I thought was important for me to share. He said how I started my printing press. He said he used social capital, which is the people's trust, people's talent, and money. And he said people building system with structures. So he said he made money to buy his machine from the London Olympics 2012 because Joke Silva recommended him as a life and performance coach for the Nigerians delegates. So she recommended him because she had tested and trusted him. So he had done maybe things for her in the past where she could trust him enough to say, okay, I know somebody who can handle this life coach thingy in the London Olympics. He got that job, got the money from that, bought his printing press, and today he has a successful printing business. So it wasn't as if his father or mother gave him any money. It was based on the relationship he had built in order to secure that machine. So the point is, no matter where you find yourself, be the best at what you do because somebody's watching. They might not come to you or give you kudos, but they've observed how diligent you are at your work. And anything can happen. Opportunity might come where they say, you know what, I know somebody that can actually do this job and they recommend
There's
you.
also like the way we're raising our children, which is we put a lot of emphasis on schooling, which is good. So you go to school, when you're done with school, you come home, you sit down, and then you go back into school. You're not really building relationships. You don't understand how to apply yourself and volunteer. I think we need to make it a part of bringing up our children that when you find yourself in a place, even in school, what can I do in the school library? How can I, be of service, in the neighborhood? Or in both children, we see it all the time. They're doing babysitting, they're doing newspaper runs and things like that. I think when you build a child knowing that they can apply themselves that way, as they grow older, they will look for opportunities that way to apply themselves because it's only then that you have the people to build relationships with and then eventually it will turn to,
Those of us who are built to apply, raised to apply ourselves. I started manning my mother's engine, grinding. If I go to your house, you're having a party as a friend, I don't know how to sit pretty and mind myself business. Before I know it, I'm helping you. I just believe apply yourself wherever you make yourself. My father used to say, make yourself useful. Yeah. So make yourself useful. But I see the conversation of this entitlement now affecting youth, whose parents live that example. People who see their parents every time. My mom would, at every naming ceremony on our street, be the one to do jollof rice, cook. I used to ask her, are you a cook? She said, I just love to cook. And that person is save money for caterer. Yeah. We, at the engine, because of she needs to give you money for your wedding, she'll say, okay, all your pepper, baskets of it, free. Applying herself. And so I know that's how it is done. But I see youth these days, after the whole conversation, they don't come, after all I have done. Expecting that money must exchange hands. Yes. People are no longer willing to apply that skill. I bought a bus. And my husband was like, Nima, don't buy a bus for the children. Let the school deal with their transportation. But it wasn't convenient for my children. They had to leave home at 6 a.m. They had to come back at 5 p.m. because the school will have to finish rounds before they come into my own area. So I said, let's get a bus. And so we did an arrangement. This was a young man I had been talking to. I thought this would solve his problem. I said, okay, I will not, my husband thinks that you would run away with the bus or the money. So I will do you a conditional sale contract. I drew that contract for him. To sign it was problem. I should have seen the signs then. get your referral. How many people did you work with that know you? He couldn't. He said, my last boss just hates me. So I went to the last boss. How was he? He said it was a wreck. He spoiled everything. Very irresponsible. He would jump at his job. He would disappear. So he did that. He came to me. He did that. He was nice, kind to the children because he knew my concern was the safety and welfare of my children. But he was irresponsible every time.
So I think one of the reasons why we're having this conversation is because we keep bringing in experts, coaches like this, entrepreneurs as examples to young people out there that, listen, he did it, you can do it. But we have also experienced young people in our various areas of work that we can actually share stories of the experiences we've seen and help to educate those out there that what you need to do to actually get some results from the value you're providing. Yes,
are you going far? Right in your house, you have one.
Yeah.
Who came into...
She was an intern
She was an intern in TVC and she has become your younger sister. Like, there's no way, her wedding, all of us are going. There are many mothers.
She cannot do wedding outside Lagos.
So, and the same thing, I have someone like that close to me as well, who got married this year. And it was our wedding. You know, so it's a case of someone came to, you have opportunities to train. So there's a young lady that I trained on makeup years back, and she's always sending me messages and stuff, and I always just respond positively to it because I know that she overheard my conversation and she kept in touch. You have to maintain relationships. When you leave your job, don't leave your boss. Even if you got fired.
Exactly.
Even if your boss fired you. Regularly just send a message, I see what you're doing, ma, or I see what you're doing, sir, and I celebrate your progress. Don't burn bridges because you never can tell. They might not be the one to help you, but they might hear your name and say, oh, that girl used to work for me and she wasn't bad. I fired her though, but I see a sense of responsibility in how she's maintained our relationship.
I have a relationship with my former boss who fired me. Yomi Badejo Kusoyam. I mean, I have a relationship with him because he's a good person. And he fired me because I needed to be fired. I was just being too, you know,
so
spoiled. You know, it's part of life. It's a process. So, in fact, he came for my mom's burial. So, this is somebody we've maintained a relationship. So, what you said is very, very true. No matter how far you go, no matter what happens, maintain that relationship.
Even if you think the boss was a bad person.
Yes.
Even if they did you something bad. Because at every point in time, you might need that relationship. And also, everybody around, you know, there are many people that genuinely cannot do free services because they have huge responsibilities. But they are young. When you're supposed to do those things when you are young. You know, when you still have your parents that you can still go and meet them for transport fare. Don't sit down at home. You must never spend 1 month doing nothing at home. Everybody watching. Like, you must never, ever say that we're out of school. I've just been at home for 1 full month. Find somewhere to go.
When your needs are minimal.
Yes.
So you're not... So you also understand how to be content. You're not a young person, you're still in school, and you want to have all the things that somebody who has been working for many years has. So that when you're not doing that, your little job, and somebody gives you money, there's a way they look at it like, is this all you're giving me? Because you're expecting that I want to build a car on this one service that I want to buy a car on this one service. So keep your wants minimal for now. You're growing up. The wants and the money will come to meet up with that.
Remember when I shared this story several times. I come to you, Nima. I shared this story several times that it was after graduation that I bought my first pair of $100 shoes. While I was in school, all my friends were wearing $350, $500 shoes, and they were swearing it. We go to party, and they're looking so beautiful shoes. I saw it, but now pay less, and they go buy my shoes, $20, because I know I am working within my own means. After graduation, when I said I got my pali, I went to go and buy $100. At Macy's, I'll never forget those black boots. I was proud fully because the point is, because as a young person, I realized I couldn't afford that. So I lived within and only within my means. Yes.
I remember my driver. You know why I don't want drivers? My driver came, and the first month he came, because I was pregnant, and my husband said, stay. I said, no. So he heard the sentiment. They had spoken to him, and he says, okay, I'll drive her if I can get a 2 months upfront salary. My husband did not even think about it, and I was just looking like, Nibo. But the guy got it. So, and he drove me for 1 month and asked for another 2 months up front. And my husband was like, what's the problem? He said, there's problem, family, that, this, everything. And then he got that again. And he had not finished the work. And he asked for another 1 month up front. And this 1 month up front, he did not dare to ask my husband because he knows him. He then helped me tell him, and me that he don't know that behind the scenes, I'm the one that I can't even stand him. I was just like, tell him yourself. And I refused to prepare my husband for the shock of it. So he thought I had finished talking to my husband and went to me. My husband asked him, what do you want the money for? And he had the audacity to say his girlfriend needs a shop. My husband schooled him that you have a girlfriend. That's the Nigerian youth of today, and that's how my story with drivers.
Let me take this call from Malik. Malik, are you there?
Yeah.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning all.
Good morning.
Good morning. There's something that Mariam said about vulture that I wanted to just chip in.
Thank you.
I wasn't too happy that when she said that she doesn't know how to say this in Yoruba. And I thought that two of you there, Tope and you should have chipped it in. The thing is, Aki Jegun, Aki Fibubon. That is, we don't kill vulture, we don't eat vulture, and we don't use vulture as a sacrifice.
Thank you, Malik.
I wanted to help you say it in my language. In my own language, but I don't hear Yoruba. I wanted to say it
So today, I mean, the show wrapping up very simple. It's important we have this conversation because of young people who look up to us. And it's important they also know we came from somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
Right?
I think that even apart from young people, even us, even people that are old, even people that are adults, also need to understand that life rewards your productivity. And if you are feeling like you are not earning, check how productive you are and find more people to be productive towards. So there's something I've been doing now for many years. I've not earned money from it. But Murayo, I am 100% sure that at some point in my life, I will earn money from it. Because anybody around me knows that when you come and meet me, I will give you business. Do you understand? But I've been doing it for years for everybody. You have an idea, I will sit down with you, I will turn it into a business. But I've not earned from it. But I've been building it around everybody. Probably, and it's opening the doors of speaking engagements.
Yes.
You understand? It's opening doors of speaking engagements, and I'm earning money from that too. But most of the time, we're putting that up front, like, I need to create a consultancy from this thing and be collecting money. No, you don't need to. You just need to do it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And then at a point in time, you won't even know when somebody will offer you to pay you for what you just done. Or you would sow that seed and it works for somebody and they will come back and
I want us
meet
to
you.
go back to something you said earlier. You said, you shouldn't stay at home for a whole month. Do something. What does something mean? If you can, let us help Nigerians here. What does something mean? Is it go and work at McDonald's or go and clean up somebody? Sorry, what's the one here? Mr. Biggs or something. You go and work
in Nigeria.
I'm just saying that. What does do something mean?
Nigeria.
Okay, like in my neighborhood, there's a bookshop in my neighborhood, and they got to me and said, we take boys, my children, my son's age, during the holiday to come out. I was so excited about that. I've been wanting to do like a little thing for children in the neighborhood to come and read during the holidays instead of watching TV. And I've been talking to that bookshop, create a place where they can come to read. If that bookshop should have a couple of people saying that they will come and watch those children, they will do that. Fantastic. You need to do, sometimes we have parents take children to school. When in the UK, I used to notice that some people will come, they'll bring children from the neighborhood to school, and then they will take them back. If we had one young person who can do that for parents that live in that area, there are just so many things. But what we're thinking of is the money first. Then how much would that bring me? But if we're not thinking how much would that bring me,
so how can I solve
this problem? There's a problem here, how can I solve it? That's where you find that
so that's something you can do. Find the problem. So it's Christmas time now. There are people who are looking for maybe Christmas things to munch in. If you want to start baking stuff to sell, cookies.
You might not even bake to sell.
You can go to the market for people.
Yes, you can go to market for people. But apart from that, you can be around someone. You know, so I know that I have an office. You have services you want somebody to help you with. If somebody comes and say, oh, is there anything I can help you do? Let me just be around you. You might first feel like I don't need the person, but the next day the person carries your bag. The next somebody says, can you quickly just reply this message for me? So the person will start adding value to you. After adding value for 1 month, by the second month, if the person is really productive, you pay the person something.
There's also a saying that, and I do
usually just find a way to solve. Just wait for the person. I have a neighbor. What can I do for you? Can I wash your car? Can I clean your... Can you do something?
They are past the stage where they even do that now. So what my parents would say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And when I was unemployed, after I had my daughter, I would gather my neighbor's children, put them to English classes. I did that, targeting their exams for free. My neighbors can, and I get the benefits because when I was down, all my neighbors worried. And so from there, I started, one of them had a skill. She would sew, she's a nurse, I started friending her so that I would pick up skills from her. I learned bead making. I made a post, I boast about it. But you don't sit down, idle. You're not reading, you're not engaging yourself, and you're happy. It's not
one
possible.
of our problems. So there was a time when we used to say, tailor. I'm not a tailor. I'm a fashion designer. I'm not a carpenter. I'm a furniture maker. So we were looking down at those labor jobs. Stop looking. Everything is important. Every job has to be productive.
Okay, we have to wrap up. I think generally what we're saying is that we didn't want to just leave the conversation because we realized that we can actually help people who are watching to encourage their children. And if you're a young person watching, encouraging you this morning to pick up something to do. Be productive. That you be very productive because he has told us, succeed and be significant. So when you stay around people, be significant. Be there for a reason. Be there for a purpose. Don't just be there because you're just there. Be significant to that person. And that's how people recommend each other. And before you know it, you find your own space in this whole scheme of things. That's all we can take on the show today. We want to talk about Alhaji Lai Mohammed, but we'll leave it for tomorrow.
We're waiting for details.
We'll see you. We're waiting for details. So let me rephrase it, Nima. The hot topic concerning the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture is very hot, but we'll wait for the white paper to come out first before we now have a robust conversation. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.